So I went myself and I looked for garatos in the area, and I found, I think it was a pair of shoes, and I cleaned it up, took some photos, put it on eBay, and it sold. And I was shocked. And the light bulb turned on. Is like, wow, if I can do this 10 times a day, I can make a living. I've always had the end in sight, but how do I get there? I studied and learned what a customer wants, and I provide that need. Mm-hmm. So seeking the advice of others and knowing that, yeah, you're a solopreneur, but you're not by yourself. Other people have done this. You just have to learn how to ask for help. And it's exciting to see that you could live and work in your passion and create money at the same time for a cause.
Welcome to the Get Business Savvy podcast. I'm George Black, and this is AJ Bishop. This month is Entrepreneur Month, and we're celebrating by interviewing entrepreneurs. Michael is a solopreneur. He's one of the top eBay store owners in the world. He's in the top 1%. And his story is absolutely fascinating, and he is full of business savvy. I want to welcome Michael Mercado to the podcast. We're so happy to have you here today.
Yeah, welcome, Michael. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to come and talk with us.
For sure. Thank you guys for having me. I enjoy watching y'all's podcast, and I'm honored to be here.
I met Michael when he was working at one of the largest homeless shelter campuses in the United States. But his story, actually, he was kind of homeless, right? You were couch surfing, and then he and I would do these talks to men who are homeless in the addiction recovery program. Michael has a passion for these men. He worked 10 years there and then became an entrepreneur. What caused you to leave the big nonprofit bureaucracy to become an entrepreneur?
Gosh, it was an unexpected turn of events. I was... around almost my 10th year, I was given an option of resigning or being fired. And I chose to resign. Really had the choice to go to another nonprofit or just finally be able to do something that I've been wanting to do on my own.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty on how you actually started your business, the eBay business.
You know, I stumbled upon a video on eBay about eBay on YouTube. And I saw an individual go to a garage sale, get an item real cheap, and then sell it for a profit. I think the profit was $20. And I said, holy crap, I could do this. So I went myself and I looked for garatos in the area, and I found, I think it was a pair of shoes, and I cleaned it up, took some photos, put it on eBay, and it sold. And I was shocked. And the light bulb turned on. Is like, wow, if I can do this 10 times a day, I can make a living.
And so before that, did you know you had a passion for going out and finding these items, or is that something you kind of just stumbled on? You're like, I could do that. And then you all of a sudden found that I'm having a lot of fun doing this.
No, I don't think I had a passion for yard sales, but when I went, I saw how excited the guy got. And then I felt the excitement myself. Then I became passionate about the thrill and then the opportunity that it would allow me, because I've always had the end in sight, but how do I get there? And when I sold an item for a profit that was a used item in good condition at a reasonable price that somebody's willing to pay, I was like, I think I have something here.
So you're basically going to yard sales, thrift shops, flea markets, wherever, yes, finding great items. And that's the service you're providing. So I don't have to go. I can just go to your eBay store and buy it. I don't have to go do all of that.
And not only that, the way the economy is turning, it's people are shopping online and finding affordable items that aren't necessarily in bad condition. They're like new. And I studied and learned what a customer wants, and I provide that need.
So what I've heard, you're basically just led by your entrepreneurial itch. I'm wondering, when I know you're doing this all by yourself as a solopreneur, how do you kind of like control that so that it doesn't get too far out of hand where, you know, you're just going at every entrepreneurial itch that comes to your mind?
Well, I realized that with the platform that I'm on, there are many ways to make money. And it can get out of hand. There's a shiny object I see that can bring in X amount of dollars, which is more profit than the items that I can easily access. But I had to really niche down and say, okay, I know where I'm going. I know that this platform is a tool, the vehicle that can generate revenue, but I need to be able to sustain it and scale it. And it gets so exciting making $5. It gets exciting making $500, but I had to control my passion. I had to actually tame it just a little bit because it can get out of hand.
And you're focused on clothing, correct?
Right. I now sell clothing, but it wasn't always like that. It was I was excited about everything from blenders to keyboards. Then I went to shoes. And then when the pandemic hit, it took my shoe seller out. So I had to pivot. And then I was like, what's easily accessible for me? Well, clothing at the thrift stores, they're on racks. So I studied clothing brands. And it was 2 years into it that I started selling clothing. So I've been selling clothing for about a year and a half. But man, I had to pivot big time.
And we're talking name brand stuff, right?
Right. Name brand stuff. Patagonia, North Face, Arc'teryx. Yeah, it's out there. And I had to learn that. I studied.
All right, we'll put a link to your store in the description in case anybody wants any of those items. Yeah, so, okay, guys, I want you to hear what Michael just said. He started off, there's some powerful things in here. As a solopreneur, there were so many money-making opportunities, and he had to niche down. He had to focus. He had to choose. Where is he headed? And that's very, very important. And that is huge business savvy, because he decided to become a specialist in one area, and you're making a good living at it, correct?
Correct. And you said it. You have to know really where you're going. And are these items that I'm going to sell, are they going to get there? And can I find X amount per day and sell X amount per day to be able to get to the end?
Yeah. And so in this previous video a couple weeks ago, we talk about how there's two ways to get business savvy. It's the School of Hard Knocks, or you can gain experience. And the whole purpose of our November Entrepreneur Month interview series is to transfer your experience to others so they don't have to go through the same pain. But I'm very suspicious, Michael. It sounds like you're already alluding to it. You've experienced some pretty big pain in the School of Hard Knocks.
Oh, man.
Can you tell us a story or two of like something you've learned, a mistake you made, and maybe it's how you niche down. Maybe it's how you figured out how to focus your passion.
Right. Gosh, the School of Hard Knocks. I took a class there, and I'll tell you what, man, it's an expensive school, and some say it's more expensive than Harvard. And I'll tell you what,
it looks like you're wearing the school colors, black and blue.
I am. I'm all bruised up. I mean, I've healed up, but let me tell you, during the pandemic, I relied on two products, and I had a business mentor, and they were telling me research. And I said, you know what? Let me figure this out on my own. He doesn't know. Mind you, he retired at 38. And I was like, let me do this on my own. The market's changed, and really the market hasn't changed. Everything's still the same. But I was like, you know what? I got this. Let me figure it out. When I saw the warnings, I saw the writings on the wall that the pandemic was going to end, but I relied heavily on these products, and I didn't niche out. I didn't study the marketplace. And it cost me, from going to six figures to almost zero figures. I was counting money, and then next thing you know, I'm counting pennies. So I had to pivot, and it was a rude awakening. And I'm thankful that, there are other entrepreneurs who've done what I'm doing that says, hey, you need to study the market. You can't rely on these two products. Even though they're making you money now, they're not going to make you money forever. It's not sustainable. That's when I had to realize, you know what? I need to focus on the business. I don't have to be in the business all the time. And once I build that foundation on niching down, I could actually scale it and grow it.
So again, another insight is you've got to do some research. You've got to recon the market. And I would assume in some cases that's going to include, what are my competitors out there? What are other stores doing? What's working? What's not working? All that sort of thing. Yeah.
The demand.
So
just to pull another insight out of that, George, and this is kind of a theme that I'm noticing over listening to you and listening to Brett, that a lot of times the entrepreneurial thing to do, or that the natural thing an entrepreneur wants to do, is push against everything that their mentors are saying, or what the wise people who've done it before have said, because things have changed. George has shared a story with that. You just shared a story with that. And I'm taking note of that for myself, and I think our listeners should too, is that although us young people think, the world's completely different, maybe people who've come before us and have done this before, they probably have some things to learn from. And we can all take note of that. I just wanted to pull that insight out that I'm noticing from our conversations here. So we have some video footage for those that are watching on YouTube, and Michael shared with us on his setup.
because I think this is really important to understand. I do want to get into some nuts and bolts. As a solopreneur, how on earth do you run this business by yourself? So, Michael, here's the footage, and I don't think that's you sitting there with the phone. So this is one of your keys to leveraging your business, right?
Yes, that is a friend of mine who I'm teaching how to do eBay. And so we're kind of exchanging services. I teach him how to do it. When I can't do it, he'll do what I'm not able to do when I'm not there. And
So
at the same time, he's learning.
So he's learning in your business by doing stuff you don't have time to do.
Correct.
And how many of these guys do you have like this?
I've worked with 4 individuals on and off.
Okay. All right. And then I'm going to scroll this around. So looks like that's your office.
Yeah, that's my office. That's my computer station. That's my shipping station where I upload the product, create the listing. To the right of it is my thermal printer where I print out the label. That's my photo station where I take photos of the items. And I take about 24 photos. That way the customer can see every side of the item.
So it looks like you've got a really nice little studio setup with good lighting, camera, and all that stuff.
Yes.
All right. And you have this huge garage, right? This is where this is?
A 3-car garage in the back, and I'm doing it.
All right. So now we're scrolling around here, and there's a table with a pile of clothes. Is this like incoming product?
That's product that I went and sourced, I want to say at flea markets, and I'm just ready to take photos and then eventually upload it to eBay.
Okay. So then there's a Patagonia flag.
Yes.
All
I'm
right,
trying to make it look more retail.
So you've got tables of clothing. So you've got a process. So
that's my processing area.
Okay. So explain this.
So there is where I take the items out of the bags, I get them ready to wash, and then I set them down. And then I put, okay, here's what I'm going to do first. And right there's about 50 items. So I have 3 days worth of work. So I don't have to go out and look for items for the next 3 days. In one day, I can knock out 3 days worth of work because I've set up systems.
So you know how many items you want to process or sell every day?
Yes.
Okay. And then we come on around, and you've got racks and racks of stuff here.
Right.
Boxes.
That's once everything's been photographed, loaded to eBay, that's where I store the product, and it's based on the SKU system. So if item 1532 sells, I just look for 1532 and I pick it, put it in a bag, buy a label, and then take it to the post office, or the post office comes to my house and picks it up.
Okay. So, now I'm understanding. So it goes from the processing. So once you photograph it, then you go ahead and it's all ready to ship. You got it in bags and all that sort of thing.
Correct.
And I would assume this is where some of these guys can help you who you're training.
Right. For those who are barely starting out, I said, hey, be my shipper. If something sells, look up the SKU. If it's 1532, just look for 1532, put it in this bag, and then drop it off.
And then there's just more stations and more racks as we go around.
The far right wall was I'll figure it out. When I was selling shoes, that's the leftover. If you move a little forward, there's a lot of random knickknacks that I thought they would sell but didn't sell, so it's just junk.
Okay.
So after seeing your setup, I can see it's very intricate, and you've created all these systems and processes that I'm sure speed things up. But as a solopreneur, at the end of the day, you're in charge of the entire end-to-end process. And you might, but I'm going to guess that you probably don't love everything from the very beginning to the very end of the process. So how do you manage your time in a way that you're not spending too much time in the stuff that you just hate doing, and you can budget more time for the things you love doing? Because as a solopreneur, you're responsible for making sure it all gets done.
Right. I'm a solopreneur, so there's nobody here to tell me what to do. Nobody here to tell me to wake up, to start work, to stop work, to go eat, to take a shower. So I had to actually time myself and how long does this process take? And it takes discipline. It takes discipline on learning how long the processes take, and really sticking to the time frame and saying, I'm going to get this done in X amount of hours, really 4 hours. But there's some things I don't like to do, and that, like shipping, I'd rather source, and then there's some stuff that I love to do, which is provide customer service when I'm engaging with customers. So time management is key, discipline, and it can be a little tricky.
And it's also a kind of a two-sided sword, right? Because you also are your own boss now. You said you have no one telling you what to do, but that
Right.
also means you're the one telling yourself everything to do, and bosses can be demanding sometimes. So almost, how do you guard yourself so that you can have your free time, that you can have a life beyond, your eBay store? How do you tell the boss to, turn off?
When I started, I was working 15-hour days, sometimes 18-hour days, and I had to seek advice and help from other entrepreneurs, people who've done this before. And I said, hey, I'm finding myself working 18-hour days. And they sat me down and said, hey, here's how I did it. Here's where the discipline comes. You have to make time for yourself. And do the things you really like to do that keep you going. Why are you doing this eBay? Why are you here for 18 hours? Well, because my end game is to create jobs. Well, along the path until you get there, you have to somehow be able to do the things you're passionate about alongside eBay. So if I wanted to go serve the homeless, which I'm volunteering now, I had to create time. And so time management is key. And the advice from other entrepreneurs, they said, hey, discipline yourself, set a schedule, and then go do what you love to do. And it'll keep you motivated to do the things that you don't want to do, like shipping.
Was one of the ideas that came from this apprentice system that you have going on?
Yeah, I learned a lot about leadership, and the key to leadership is seeking the advice of others. But once you learn it, also share with other people. A good leader knows when to ask for help, and a good leader knows when to give back.
One of the things that I'm hearing, Michael, that I want to draw out for everyone to understand is you said you've sought advice from other entrepreneurs. I know kind of behind the scenes, because you told me you've spent a lot of time studying eBay experts, and
Yes,
just through YouTube videos or even maybe a class or something like that. So you've availed yourself to a lot of education in the eBay world,
right.
to become an eBay expert.
Yeah. So one thing that I learned is just because you're in the business for yourself, it doesn't mean you're in the business by yourself. There are other people who have done it. You seek mentorship, seek people who've done it. How are they doing it? How are they able to work 4 hours and then go spend 8 hours doing what they love to do? Mm-hmm. So seeking the advice of others and knowing that, yeah, you're a solopreneur, but you're not by yourself. Other people have done this. You just have to learn how to ask for help and not take any more classes at the School of Hard Knocks.
So a little more about your story that I know was even in the nonprofit world, I saw this entrepreneur wannabe. You trying to change this organization to be more entrepreneurial, right?
When I was there, I was a regular employee that started a pilot program that took the residents of the shelter and we took them out in the community to give back through volunteerism. And after several years of doing it, I saw that, man, I'm managing work crews and we're doing this volunteer work that eventually that really we should be getting paid for. But we were serving nonprofits. We were serving charities. We were serving people who couldn't afford to pay us. But I knew then and there, hey, this could be a money-making machine that could generate revenue for a company and it go back to the client to sustain them and eventually transition them into self-sufficiency and really provide an earned income, a livable wage.
So you're talking about helping or training homeless people to become entrepreneurs so they can provide for themselves.
Yes, they did all the work. I was able to really open a door and everybody rush in and say, hey, we have residents who are skilled. They're going to do the labor and we're doing it for free. But I knew then and there, hey, this could be a money-making machine that could generate revenue for a company and it go back to the client to sustain them and eventually transition them into self-sufficiency and really provide an earned income, a livable wage.
So you're talking about helping or training homeless people to become entrepreneurs so they can provide for themselves.
Yes. One thing that I learned is if I had a vision other people have a vision. If I had a dream, other people, I'm sure they have dreams too. What the transition out of the nonprofit sector, it delayed the vision, but there was still a lot of time to fulfill it. And the end game is to create a recovery-friendly environment for the homeless to actually work in and sustain themselves, create a living, and then eventually use some of the profits to fulfill their entrepreneur endeavors. So it's doing what I love to do and really being able to monetize it. And it's exciting to see that you could live and work in your passion and create money at the same time for a cause, you know?
Are you thinking of using that model with your eBay business as a training ground, or are you thinking this could be any kind of entrepreneurial business?
I'm going to use the model that I learned as a training ground, but I know not everybody's going to be like me, relying heavily on eBay. So I'm going to have to seek advice from other people who are entrepreneurs in other areas, who are generating revenue through other streams, because not everybody's going to want to do eBay. It'll be eBay for a moment, but it's a stepping stone to get where they want to get.
Okay.
To.
All right. Yeah. So you're going to start with eBay, and then step out and maybe get other entrepreneurs involved with you in this cause.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
I know you're a solopreneur. And so one thing we talk about is how narrative and story can motivate employees, can motivate your customers. But I'm wondering, does that story of, you going from couch surfing to creating innovative programs within a large bureaucracy to now being able to do it by yourself, that has to be the motivating factor for you every day, right?
Yeah, it's key. I have to remind myself daily where I was at, where I'm at now, and where I'm going. I have to keep the vision in sight. And that's what really gets me up every day doing this. And my passion is people, specifically the homeless individual. If I get up every day early and be disciplined with my time, I get there a lot sooner.
Wow. Is there anything else, Michael, that you want to share?
For those wanting to be an entrepreneur, really start. If you're working an 8 to 5 and have a passion for something, learn how to monetize that passion. An hour a day, invest in yourself that amount of time and see where your passions will take you.
Michael, how can people find out more about you, your eBay store, and all of that?
My eBay store, it's called Michael's Depot. I didn't take it serious to begin with. So I was like, you know what, Michael's Depot, I'm selling everything. But I'm going to change the name soon, because now I was like, holy crap, I'm actually doing it for the past 5 years. So I'm going to probably call it Waves of Compassion.
Okay. All right. So, but we'll put a link in the description where people can just go to your store and find out more about you.
Buy something and fund the vision.
There you go. There you go. Michael, thank you so much for coming on and celebrating November Entrepreneur Month. And this is great. You're making more entrepreneurs, and really, really loved hearing your story today.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on and sharing your inspiring story here, Michael.
For sure. Thank you guys for having me.
If you guys want more content like this, check out last week's interview. I know you're going to love it. And in the meantime, may you live truly free.